Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so still some people are arriving. Hello everyone, my name is Diana zu Löwen and I'm hosting the semi-finals for the Tech Innovation Startups here at Stage 2, and we have lots of cool and really innovative companies here. And I'm super excited to hear their pitches. And of course, we also have a really qualified and good jury here from Germany, from a lot of venture capital funds. And in the first place, I'll introduce you to the jury before we head to the startup pitches. So first we have here Laura Egg. You're managing director of the Austrian Angel Association. Welcome, and thanks that you're here. And then we have Alexander Köblin, also managing director of Seed and Speed Ventures. Also, Maximilian Bock, investment manager at HTGV, or how's it in, sorry. High Tech Renaissance. Also then Philipp Semmer from Earlybird Unix. Stephen Jacobs, partner at Lakestar, leading the Deep Tech Fund. And so applause for our jury today. Thank you so much for joining. And our first founder came here from Stockholm, and it's a startup miniaturizing the 6G hardware, which is a really interesting topic. It's a huge topic we're all currently talking a lot about. And so welcome James from TeraSi.
Increasing pollution, a changing climate, an endless demand for more data. 6G, the next generation of wireless technology, can help us solve many of these problems. But first, we need to solve a different problem. This is how 6G technology looks today. Big, bulky equipment made using specialized machinery in small quantities. We've been doing it this way for 40 years, and it's clear that this does not scale. So if we ever want to make 6G happen, we need a new way to build and package 6G systems. That's where TeraSi comes in. We use semiconductor processing techniques to make 6G hardware that is 100 times lighter, smaller, and cheaper without sacrificing performance. So by leveraging automation, volume manufacturing, and reconfigurability, we can make 6G hardware that truly scales. Our vision is to go from this to this, and build a 6G system in a $1,000 matchbox. And then we want to put these things everywhere, both on Earth and up in space. So our next step on this mission is to build miniaturized 6G payloads for Earth observation from space using CubeSats to give us a new way to study the atmosphere. We're currently selling in the test and measurement market and have pilot customers in the wireless, radar, and space sectors. The founding team all have PhDs on this topic, and we've spent 15 years developing the technology. So we combine a unique technology with a mix of manufacturing, design, and application know-how, which gives us a unique market position. We also do all design and manufacturing in-house in Stockholm. We're currently building towards our seed round and have applied for significant research funding to help support our development. So if you're interested in joining our mission to build a new way to create 6G systems, then please get in touch. Thanks.
So thank you so much for your pitch, and now it's time for the jury to ask questions.
Yeah, thanks, and you were perfectly on time, which is a really great sign and really tough in 2 minutes to pitch such a complex company, so congrats. My question is, while we're still in the process of adapting 5G and 6G is only forecasted to be available in 2030, my question would be, how would you sustain yourself financially until that in the next 8 years?
Yeah, so that is one of the reasons we're targeting space markets. So we can basically apply the same technology to a different application scenario in space. So as I showed, these miniaturized space payloads. And there you don't need to wait for the industrial rollout of 6G to happen.
And how are you keeping up with the competition, like Huawei and Samsung, who are having huge budget dedicated into this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's the thing in this sector. There are huge companies working on this. So we basically want to do things in a different way than most of the traditional IC and semiconductor companies are doing. So yeah, it's doing things a different way, basically.
I just want to see whether I got that straight. So your technology is directed at being used in space. Are there other applications on Earth for it? Or what's your vision?
Other applications on Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So if you imagine that we would make payloads for remote sensing in space, if one can scale down the cost significantly enough, you can then deploy those payloads on Earth as well to do remote sensing on Earth. But then long term, the goal is to build compact systems for wireless communications.
You mentioned that you've been developing this for 15 years. Could you elaborate a bit more on the team background?
Yeah, so we all did our PhDs together at KTH. The research that kind of originated this whole topic actually came from NASA. So they kind of use it for the same reasons. We're looking into it for space. And we did a lot of research with a lot of industrial collaborators over the last 10 years on this topic.
And your first sale, you also sold it for 1,000 euros, or what was your price tag there?
5,000 euros for one piece of silicon, basically.
Okay, and if you're selecting and selling to space, normally this is a high-end market where you can sell like for 100K something that you produce for 100. How are you seeing that approach in order to play it for the immediate term?
Yeah, I think that picture is changing a lot. So we're seeing the whole new space revolution really kind of changing that picture. So actually a lot of the customers that show interest in this, they're operating at a different price point. So to be able to sell to them, you need to get the size and the weight down, but also drive the price down, because otherwise it doesn't really align with the whole new space thing. Traditional space companies, yeah, then it's more, as you said, extremely high price.
Just a question I saw the slide about your timetable, only very briefly. Maybe you could help me understand your plans for revenue. When will you have how much, or who do you sell to?
Yeah, so if I can go back here. So as I said, we're currently operating on the left-hand side here, test and measurement, essentially selling specialized components to equipment manufacturers that are offering 6G measurement equipment. And there you can grow, it's not millions of units, but potentially hundreds of units, but still at high price. So it's quite significant revenue there. And then, as I said, we're looking to grow towards this market in the middle, which is more building on the space market. And there, the volumes start to increase.
And you might have said this already. What level of technology development readiness are you currently at? Do you have any pilot programs? Have you seen any conversion to retained contracts?
Yeah, so it depends which part of the technology you're looking at. So if we look at just, let's say, a single passive component, then the TRL is extremely high. It's a 9 already. We can do these things in bulk. Building complete systems and complete payloads, the TRL is lower, and that's why we've applied for the research funding to support the technology development there. In terms of customer conversion, we're still mostly at pilot customer stage, but so far the customers seem happy with the product.
Just one follow-up. You showed us what sort of state of the art is today, but what are the other competing companies that essentially your manufacturers are looking to buy if they wouldn't buy your product?
There are people looking at doing something similar using 3D printing, for instance. One of the issues there is that you cannot really get small enough features. So this requires extremely high precision. So 3D printing for that reason is kind of limited. There are others looking into similar things with glass substrates, for instance, which is obviously a competing technology. But we believe our technology kind of offers significant benefits that glass doesn't. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, James. It was a pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Our next startup is called Gearbox Biosciences, and they're a biotech company building a new protein production technology. So welcome Vilo from Estonia.
co-founder of Gearbox Biosciences. Food is something we need every day. Yes, food is something we need every day. We like delicious cheese and bread, and for that, the raw ingredients must be properly treated. Food enzymes are important aids here to improve the food quality and to keep it consistent. Food enzymes are proteins. They have to be produced by living cells in a bioreactor. For technical reasons, antibiotics are added to produce high amount of enzyme in bacteria. The problem is here that antibiotics cannot contaminate the final product nor the environment. And this is why the use of antibiotics is costly, and also food safety agencies and consumers don't like it because of the health risk. We have built a new production technology. Our product is an engineered bacterium that can produce high amount of protein, but without using the costly antibiotics. Food enzyme market is steadily growing. The main driver is the growing demand for the ready-made food in Asia. We make money by licensing our technology to companies that produce food enzymes. We prepare the cells for our clients, and they will produce and sell the enzyme. Our team consists of 3 founders. We have scientific background. Last week, an experienced business developer joined our team. We established Gearbox Biosciences about 18 months ago. Our first MVP was released in last December, and currently we are running the feasibility test with potential clients. And we will be raising our pre-seed round at the end of this year. Please get in touch if interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now it's time for some questions again.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting because I believe the numbers will only go up. So question, I talked yesterday to a company who uses brewery waste products basically to produce protein. What kind of, is there any condition or what kind of your technology, what kind of pre-products does it work?
What kind of?
Pre-product, or what do you put in order to get proteins out? Does it matter or is it?
Usually input for protein production is you have to provide the cells with the media, and the rest is coming from the cells. So media, which means mostly glucose source, some vitamins, and
so
that's
you're
about
open
it.
with this, so there's no special condition or precondition for this?
No, this is the good thing with our technology as well, that we don't need any specific metabolite or any specific condition to get this nice expression and production.
And last question, do you have any numbers for me to understand the size of the market better? Because you sell to companies who produce this, right? So how many are there right now? Or like numbers of companies or revenues?
Well, I mean, most of the production is done by big companies. There are many tens of different big enzyme production companies, like Codexis or Novozymes, the biggest in Denmark, and so on. There are many of them are producing food enzymes as well nowadays, because food crisis is the real thing. Population is growing. It's heavily needed, and especially if the Asia gets richer, they really want more ready-made food. This one tries to produce more and more, and many more companies are taking this direction as well. So there are tens of them, but this potential is there for sure.
And do you have any strategies in place to test the metabolic acceptance? And are you testing also on humans?
Testing also humans?
Testing the metabolic acceptance of the system?
We have done some proteomics. Generally, I mean, if you get your protein purified out of the cell mass, you don't care about what's happening with the cells anymore. I mean, some proteins are more difficult to produce, some are less difficult, but this is always the case in this field. But that's why we are really keen on going out to look for those potential clients and do those small feasibility tests to really validate the technology better. This is our main goal for the pre-seed round as well, to really go out and do the tech validation, tech and market validation, where exactly pays off really well.
Is your technology IP protected?
Yes, the technology is IP protected. We have two core technologies. One patent is filed a year ago, more. The second one is in preparation. This antibiotic-free part is in preparation. That's why I cannot talk in too details about that yet. But the first core technology, where we separate the stages, we control the growth better. This one is published also in a research paper, so you can have a look.
Do you have an estimate of how long it would take you to work with one customer to get them the product or solution they want?
That's always an issue with biotech. Cell cycle is rather long, especially if you need to introduce new technologies to their processes. Right? We know this takes time, and also if you want to scale. I mean, we are hitting more to bigger scales. The companies who produce bigger scales, especially if you do licensing. But there are certain steps. You cannot jump from 1 liter scale to 10-ton scale. There are those steps in between, so you have to go through them. That's why it takes longer time to get the technology into the process, but the returns are higher than later on if it works out. And scalability comes from the same company. You could maybe add the same technology to different proteins, and if you take royalty, that's the scalability. But cell cycle is wrong because we have to do those feasibility tests and really see how things work out with specific proteins.
Because of time, so are you therefore following a land and expand strategy where each customer is an island of its own, but once you're inside that customer sort of system, you grow and...
Exactly. We definitely get positive feedback from that kind of.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are joined by two women, by Helena and Liliana from Portugal, and they founded the company E-RecyGold, where they're recycling and reusing mainly gold, and they'll be talking about it on stage. So welcome, Liliana and Helena.
Hello, everyone. How do you think you will manage your life if tomorrow you will not have your laptop or your mobile phone? Impossible, you'll say. No. This will happen if we don't start to recycle all the huge amount of e-waste that are produced and contains valuable metals, namely gold and copper. Nowadays, recycling e-waste is performed in large central plants that obligates to transport residues for long distance, needs high capital investments, consumes huge amount of energy, and produce residues. Contrary, our business is based on a totally disruptive technology patented by us that allows for the first time to recycle all the main and valuable raw materials from e-waste using a totally circular approach through an environmental and economical way. And the high quality of our products allows us to sell them directly at the commodity chains. What are our plans? We intend to start with 5% of the Portuguese market, and for that we need an initial investment of 250,000 euros. An additional investment of 100,000 euros is needed in 2024 for expansion, and we intend to reach the Iberian market in 2028. Based on our business model, we can see that our technology is economical, sustainable, and can reach in 6 years about 1.4 million euros of net earnings. Thank you so much, and we challenge you to beat in our business. Thank you.
Okay, so now it's time for some questions again.
Hi. Obrigado. I wanted to ask again, because the numbers seem extremely low that you're asking for fundraising, like 250K, 150.
Yes.
How do you manage?
Yes. The question is that we already have some of the equipments, so we don't need. In fact, the equipments are not very expensive. So the equipments that we need are not very expensive, and some of them we already have, and we don't want to start with a very big company. We want to start step by step in order to be a sustainable development and increasing. You see?
Actually, I don't have a good idea of your technology. Could you elaborate a little bit more what you're actually doing?
Yeah. So our technology is based on physical and chemical process. There is a combination, and it's always 3 steps, very easy. And it's patent, so it's quite difficult to explain more. But we can separate it, all the main raw materials, and obtain them with a high purity grades. For example, for gold, we are talking about 18 carats, that it can be directly sold to the jewelry, for example, as a green source of gold and products. So it will be a very different type of products that I can resell to the clients.
Can I add something more? You can see in this slide, so when we start from this, and our final products are those ones. So the gold, the copper layers, and the fiberglass. So,
but what's happening in between?
Sorry?
That's the secret. That's the business secret.
Like, the physical chemical process. So, but we have to ask later.
It's an hybrid process. It's an hybrid process.
Yeah, no, understood. We have to talk about this later. If I have just one question, I mean, we all want like a circular economy and a sustainable economy. That's one of the reasons to use your technology. Another might be regulation, because governments demand it. And another one you mentioned is like economical, so it makes sense. I just saw that by coincidence this morning that, for example, the price of some raw materials like copper is down 30% from last year. Does this affect your economic validity, or does it matter?
Well, yeah, for sure. The commodity markets, the price of those materials will affect it. But for example, for gold, the gold tends to increase the prices along this year because it's a safe investment, as you can say. And unfortunately, we have a problem in Europe with the dependency of other markets on the abroad. So we are closing more and more mines. We are not producing our materials. So it's excellent form to have and to increase or decrease our demands. So
I have a question for you.
Can I add something more? So okay. So because Europe imports 80% of the metals from abroad, and in fact only about 20% of the e-wastes at this moment are recycled. So this is a big, big business that is open.
What is your exit strategy? Your exit strategy. Exit.
I don't know. I don't have an exit.
When you're successful,
Okay.
at some point you'll either want to take it public or issue dividends or sell the company. What would you like to do?
Well, for now, our model, it will be more business to business. So we want to have a straight collaboration with the recyclers and the collectors, and they can collect the e-waste that we wanted and make like a win-win situation for everyone.
Maybe I'll ask it differently. How do you intend to return capital to your investors?
How?
Yeah. How do your investors make money?
It depends of the type of the agreement that we'll do. If we do, okay, you can have 1% or 0.5% or something like that, all the profits that will be available, we can divide according to that. It depends of the agreement that we do. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Helena and Liliana. Thank you. Next up on stage, we have Paul from Decouple. They're turning food waste into value, and he came here all the way from Riga. So applause to Paul.
Hi. Every day in Latvia, 4,000 tons of municipal waste is generated, and 85% of it goes to landfills. It creates not only a large amount of greenhouse gases, but also increases household monthly expenses. In the meantime, lack of bio-waste recycling options in urban areas with limited living space leads to even faster filling waste bins. We've got a solution to this food waste issue, KURBADS Eco Composter. You throw out food leftovers from family dinner, KURBADS Eco will digest it, creating no bad smells and ensuring emptier garbage bin. While processing bio-waste, it will generate heat that can assist you with warm water. Smells will be neutralized by our developed mixture of microorganisms. They help to reduce the composting odor and speed up the process. Lastly, by the help of integrated sensor system, you will be able to see how the composting is progressing. Statistics show that one household generates around 770 kilos of waste per year in Latvia. Recycling can help to reduce it by around 30%. Separating bio-waste with KURBADS will save you up to 60% of space in your garbage bin. While introducing our product to the market, we'll focus on B2C type of deal. Customer will be offered the device for manufacturing price and monthly subscription for odor reduction filament. Interviews with potential clients show that they're all willing to reduce the amount of waste thrown out, but current options aren't suitable enough. And this is a team behind KURBADS, consisting of 7 scientists, engineers, and business people. In the near future, we plan to merge together our device with an odor-removing compound we've developed, create a monitoring system with machine learning principles that can even advise you what to eat for dinner, and also device scaling is on the list. Choose KURBADS. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, oh wait, you're on there in a bit. But yeah, so first of all, it's time for some questions. No, for the jury.
All right, so thanks a lot for the pitch. Is it right that it's going to be a B2C approach, so you're going to sell to private households, or is it more for industry or commercial?
Yeah, currently it's B2C for urban households with limited living space. There is an option to turn to B2B, but there are some regulation. B2B means cafes or restaurants, but there are regulation issues regarding this. So currently it's B2C.
And do you want to tell us a little bit more about your secret source, how this compostation is actually working, or is it a trade secret?
I don't want to tell a lot. It's basically, there are 2 technologies. One is regarding smells, about microorganisms. There are these fungi and bacteria that are, while degrading the waste, they're like generating heat, and that heat is collected through through our heat pipe know-how technology. And what else? Maybe you can add.
Yeah, we have a monitoring system, so in the future we plan to make a machine learning device to predict how much amount of our mixture need to be applied to better compost.
Are all kinds of organic waste possible to throw in there, or do you need customers to take care what they really put in there, that it's actually working?
All kinds of like green waste plants, and you cannot throw like waste from meat basically.
So also like banana leaves, eggshells, and everything like that.
Yeah, that goes in. That can go in everything from that.
How big is the total available market for your product?
From what we considered in Latvia, the target market, those urban households that have no space and they are eager to reduce the waste, we considered around 10,000 to 20,000 target market. People, like households, not people, but households. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you determine the willingness to pay, so the $100 price point and the recurring fee?
The willingness, we made an interview with possible early adopters that were eager to adopt this technology, but about the payment, well, we have to obviously reduce it as much as we can, but the €100, as I said, they said that it would be like possible that they are interested. So, but currently we are just in the development phase, and all the parts we procure are procured separately, so the cost may be lower.
Just a tricky one, maybe. If a customer doesn't buy your option, what's the pain they will experience? Maybe financially, maybe socially, or whatever. But what is actually the fundamental driver for them to say, let me try KURBADS?
Well, it depends what they're doing now. If they're just throwing all their waste from not recycling, not doing anything about that, their single pain would be maybe costs about garbage disposal, which increases over time because of the limited options we have. And but if you are eager to like create a compost or grow plants or reduce your footprint, then the pain is you just basically lose money, and with our device you spend approximately the same money, but you get a bit of returns from energy that we create. You get fertilizer that you get if you want to do something, and the social impact that you have is that you limit your footprint. Basically that, if I answered the question.
Just quickly, we're out of time, but what happens, I put stuff in, I have your device, what happens after this? Do I need a garden to put this in, or will you collect it?
The end product is, the compost. It basically can be used, for the garden, or maybe if you probably have some friends who need it, you can just share it to them if you don't want to. But basically, usually if you want compost, then you have a garden or something like that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next up on stage is Samu from Finland, and he and his team, they have developed a tissue recognition technology for cancer surgery. So sounds really interesting, and he'll tell us more about it. Welcome, Samu.
Hello, I'm Lehtonen Samu. I work as a researcher at the KUH Microsurgery Center, and today I will talk about our surgical innovation and startup company, Marginum Limited. We are developing a patent-pending smart tissue monitor which enables more efficient identification of tumor tissues, increasing the value, safety, and efficiency of surgery. Our multidisciplinary team has the necessary expertise to successfully commercialize the invention, and we are passionate about our work. Our smart tissue monitor can be summarized in 3 words: precision, speed, and quantification. The primary goal is to enable the surgeon to perform better by utilizing fluorescent biomarkers. And during brain tumor surgery, red fluorescence is used to identify cancer tissue and to remove it, but the surgeon's field of view, however, can be limited by debris, ledges, or dead angles. These limitations lead to the following three issues: undetected tumor cells, resected healthy tissues, and complex surgical workflows. As a solution, our device informs the surgeon whether any traces of cancer are present based on the light intensity of the removed particles. With objective feedback and improved decision-making, more of the tumor can be removed, leading to lesser healthcare costs, decreased tumor recurrence, and ultimately the best possible treatment for patients. Our business model, utilizing subscriptions and licensing, comprises of device sales, product replacement and upgrade service, and calibration and maintenance. Our scalable technology can be applied to other areas of oncological surgery as well, and we estimate a potential annual patient count of 2.7 million. Total market size is estimated to be 2 billion euros, and other relevant markets to our products are also estimated to grow. For our second funding round, we are looking for a potential co-investor and long-term partnership for a successful market entry. Thank you.
Thank you for this great pitch, and now it's time for some questions again.
So it sounds very cool. I want to make sure I understand it correctly. So are you using a fluorescent chemical or some bioagent to detect which cells are cancers and which ones are not, and provide that feedback to a surgeon so they can remove all of the cancer cells and not the healthy tissue?
Yes, just like you said, currently in brain tumor surgery, the patient is given a fluorescent prodrug before the surgery, which predominantly accumulates to the cancer cells. And our device, essentially, when the surgeon continues with his operation, it will, after the tissue flows back to the waste container, it can identify, based on our estimate, 10 times more accurately the tumor tissues, and it relays the information back to the surgeon so that he can revise surgical strategy. For example, as stated, the surgeon's field of view is limited, and there's a lot of room for human error there. And we have received excellent feedback currently on the product.
So your product analyzes the tissue that has already been excised?
Yes.
So isn't it too late at that point?
No, it isn't. For example, the surgeon will make the decision, and for example, he has to know, for example, the surgical landmarks there. But essentially, the surgeon has of the operable area, he has a two-dimensional field of view. But with our device, he can see in places that he couldn't see currently at the moment. And essentially what our product will do, it can establish a completely new branch of diagnostics in surgery.
Just to follow up on that, does that mean during the surgery, he has a real-time feedback of the waste, knowing the success of the surgical treatment that he has performed?
Yes, he will be informed whether the tissue that he removed was cancerous or not. Because, for example, with these high-performance detectors, for example, there is a fluorescent glow in the cancerous tissue, but there is often so that it is so dim that the surgeon might not be completely certain whether the tissue that he removed is cancerous or not. And to demonstrate product market fit, for example, we participated in Nordic Neurosurgery Conference in Norway, where we presented this idea to 50 neurosurgeons, and our idea was awarded as the best scientific presentation, and all the participants there were essentially key opinion leaders, top neurosurgeons, top professors in leading Nordic university hospitals, and we received all the contacts from them, and just actually 2 weeks ago, we discussed with the leading Nordic university hospitals about letters of intent regarding the purchase of our device, and the first ones have now been signed. So the product market fit, which is currently, as for our testimonials, has been described as a breakthrough in cancer surgery. There is this glioma tissue in brain tumors. It will function as a golden standard currently with these fluorescent biomarkers, but currently there are in FDA investigations, there are about 60 new fluorescent biomarker agents, and 40 of these are related to oncology. So our device can be applied, in addition to gliomas, it can be applied to, for example, liver cancer, ovarian cancer, and colon cancer as well. And to continue my monologue as well, One of the key advantages is that our device is quite simple and it does not prevent the use of any parallel techniques, which is usually that, for example, these medical devices are big, operational microscopes are big, but our device can be integrated so that it does not disrupt the surgical workflow that is going on. And for example, in this regard, our competitors, which we have naturally identified, are more akin to collaborators, because our device can give their device a competitive edge, and there's lots of room to give them a competitive edge for licensing. And it's looking very good. Sorry for monologue.
Just a question of understanding it better. Does your technology work with all kinds of tumor cells, or just some kinds?
Well, as stated, the use of it identifies the optic properties of the tissue, and in the coming years, it is the general opinion of the key leaders in oncology is that the use of these biomarkers, it will pretty much exponentially increase, and we are essentially coming on just at the right time, and we have already established relations with key persons, for example, America, and as to how our development work has been progressing is that we, by the end of this year, intend to start clinical trials for the observational phase and for the CE mark, and then continue right to the FDA investigations. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. The next founder on stage is Philip from Brainamics, and they've developed a software for brain-computer interfaces, and he told me that they're able to extract emotions from the human brain, and he will tell us more about what this actually means. So welcome, Philip from TU Munich.
Brain-computer interfaces will change our lives more than any other technology ever did before. The technology to measure brain activity has been there for years already. Yet, there are no brain-centered applications bringing any value to our daily lives. We could already be controlling our smartphones, not with our fingers, but with our brains. Why can we not do that yet? It's because it's crazy difficult to process brain activity in real time and integrate it in apps. You would need to be an expert in neurotech, deep learning, psychology, and software engineering, which is not the standard expertise that you can find in an app development company. Now, our mission at Brainamics is to make brain-centered app development as easy as making any other app. We therefore take care of all the complex brain data processing so that the developers can focus on what they're really good at. We package our expertise into a tool, the Brainamics SDK, that for the first time enables app developers to easily create brain-centered applications. So what gives us the credibility to take care of this super complex task? It's the fact that we already built a successful brain-centered application ourselves. Using brain-computer interfaces, we are measuring the brain activity of players while they play a video game. And then we apply our deep learning models to show exactly what they feel, which emotions do they perceive during every single second of the game. With this novel approach to testing games, we're currently completely revolutionizing the way developers test, validate, and optimize the user experience in their games. To make that happen, we already raised $500,000 earlier this year and are now raising another $2 million, for which we already found a lead investor. Good news, though, is that it's still not too late for co-investors, which is why now is exactly the right time to join us in making brain-computer interfaces accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, there are already lots of questions.
Yeah, thanks for the really concrete call of action in the end. I like that. What's your average classification accuracy?
Yeah.
Accuracy.
Yes, so we classify emotions on 2 dimensions. So one is called valence, one is called arousal. It's basically giving you a measure for how active and how positive the emotion was. And there we have an 80% accuracy at the moment.
80%?
Yeah.
I think this is also the market average, right?
I mean, there's no real market average since we are the only one who provides something like this with EEG data. There are some research papers which are on a very limited and closed environment where they have like 10 participants and they also can sometimes achieve up to 80%. But we are able to apply this on scale. So we don't have a problem with inter-subject variability. We can apply that on any human, basically, and most importantly, on any hardware device. So we are not locked into one specific EEG. We can apply our technology and our software on literally any EEG in the world.
And which data sets are you using? Do you create them on your own?
Yeah, so we created a small data set on our own, and then we use self-supervised learning to utilize all the unlabeled EEG data that is available worldwide. So there's a lot of high-quality EEG data available from medical use cases, but they're not usable for normal machine learning or deep learning. And that's why we created a self-supervised approach, which is also our secret sauce to a certain extent, because now we have the most accurate models.
How many people in the audience have an EEG headset? Raise your hand. How are you going to solve that problem?
Yeah, so we see the problem not that the hardware is hard to implement. So hardware is the easy part. We just need to bring it to the people. People don't have it because there are no use cases for them. Why would you buy an EEG? Because there's no value that you would get in that. And that's what we try to help with. We want to enable app developers to develop great apps that will then, on the other hand, motivate people to buy EEGs. Because Apple, for example, they already published patents on AR glasses that they want to develop with embedded electrodes to measure the brain activity. There are VR headsets with embedded electrodes. The technology is there. It's just about the use cases that needs to be developed. And there, our software is pretty nice to use.
You mentioned your first use case being in the gaming industry to sort of improve game development. It's a very clear and nice one. Have you got any feedback from your customers who have already paid like 80K and stuff? How it compares to how they're currently testing and what the improvement has been noticed so far?
Yeah, so the difference is the depth and insights that they can get. So typically they do surveys and sometimes they verbally interview the testers after the play test. And what they get with us is a way better temporal resolution. So they see for every single second what do they feel, and they get an objective insight. So they're not relying on the subjectivity of the participants, because humans in general are really bad in expressing, like verbally expressing what they felt. And that's where our approach comes in quite handy.
And right now you are having actual revenue from game developers, and the end game will be maybe in AR glasses or whatever I will wear at that time. What do you do? How do you bridge the time in between there? I mean, I assume you could do all sorts of market research with this or other stuff.
Exactly. So just the gaming itself is already a multi-billion-dollar market. Our technology could be one-on-one applied also in test screenings in movie production, for advertisement testing. Wherever you have a digital user experience where you want to test what the users actually feel, you could apply our technology. And that's kind of what we want to do until hardware becomes available on the mass market.
What's your larger vision for your company, but for the entire industry? I mean, where will it take us if we are able to extract brain thoughts?
The ultimate vision is that we can control our devices, such as a smartphone, just by thinking. That we can have the most easiest connection between our brain and machines that we are using to remove all the barriers that are existing there.
And what do you think, how many years will take that until we get there?
5 to 10, so still a long way down the road.
How device agnostic is your software layer?
How device agnostic is our software layer? Totally device agnostic. So we can apply our technology, our software on any EEG that is on the market. So we buy EEGs off the shelf and we can apply it to anyone.
But it's dependent on being an EEG cap. Like you can't use ear-based electrodes or FNIRs or anything else.
Exactly. So we cannot use FNIRs or MEG or any other one. But the good thing is EEGs is the cheapest and the most scalable one. That's why that's not a problem.
Thank you so much, Philip. Thank you.
Thank you.
So from extracting emotions to cancer drug development, now we have Marta from Karion Therapeutics, and they've developed a drug that's about to kill aggressive cancer cells. So welcome, Marta.
Hi everyone, I am Marta from Karion Therapeutics, and I am here to talk to you about cancer, a leading cause of death worldwide. So imagine that you are one of the 900,000 people that are yearly diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma or triple-negative breast cancer, two really aggressive cancers. So you will face very aggressive treatments that have several side effects. And you know what? In the end, you may anyway be part of the 90% of people that die within the next 5 years. So imagine that I would offer you a treatment that is more effective, less toxic, and more affordable. Would you take it? Let's talk about our secret molecule, KT-408, a small molecule with an excellent efficacy and safety profile that targets aggressive cancers, and our technology is already protected in the most important markets. Also, our major advantage is the new mode of action of KT-408 with an unprecedented use in the clinics. So, after 15 years of R&D, we founded Karion Therapeutics. And in the next 2 years, we will raise money to conclude our preclinical studies and also for regulatory approvals. So, for KT-408 to enter into clinical trials, we will license our technology or be acquired by a pharmaceutical company. So, we are a highly motivated team with complementary expertise, supported by an amazing team of advisors. Our mission is to fight against cancer. Join us in our mission. Thank you.
You are probably at the most important step in the economic scientific and economic development of your medicine. Can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of positive points you have achieved so far, you can show, or to help us to understand how far you've gotten?
So we are in the preclinical phase. We started, of course, with cellular models, so with cancer cells. But right now we already tested our drug candidate in animal models, so in mice models. And actually we started with the toxicity issues, because safety is one of the most important parameters of this. Because you can be very effective, but if you have more side effects than what's already in the clinic, so there's no benefit with it. So we have done safety studies, efficacy studies, and from all of this, we know that we have a benefit over what's in the clinic. Okay.
Have you looked into the willingness to pay and the total market size for your therapeutic?
Sure. So, for example, for renal cell carcinoma, the drug market size is about $6.5 billion right now, but it's expanding because the numbers of cancer patients will also expand. Triple-negative breast cancer is the value of the drug market size for small molecules is about $1 billion. And the unmet need is there. So.
As this is going to be really capital intensive in the next year, and I hope the drug gets finally launched. How do you plan to finance the next steps, and who are your partners?
So we have already started with pitching to VCs. We are also planning to go for the accelerator program in the European funding. Which is really attractive, and the innovation is there because the mode of action of our drug is new. It's a first in class, so we are talking about the first in class. So I think we will succeed in that. We are pretty confident that we will raise the money that we need.
And what is Big Pharma thinking about your product? Have you already gotten some interest there?
Yes. Actually, we have already interest from 3 pharmaceutical companies. So we are right now signing the CDAs and so on. So we're starting also conversations with them. Because at the end of the preclinicals, that's the right partner that we want. That's the pharmaceutical company has the capacity to go forward to human trials. So, yeah, sure.
This is a fun one. If in 2 years you manage to sell your company, what's next?
Yeah, what's next? I already have some ideas on the pocket, but for now I have to leave them aside because, you know, we have been constructing this huge library of new compounds. So we were really focused on a family of compounds that was present in the nature, that was known for their capacity to target cancer, but also inflammatory diseases. And I really thought, if this is in the nature, I mean, maybe we should apply this, you know, to the lab and try to replicate, to do new things similar to what's out there. So that's what we did. And now we have this huge library, and I mean, this is just one of the compounds. So, you know, it's a lot to explore.
How are you screening? Are you using traditional high throughput screening methods or computational methods?
Yeah, so in the some years ago, that was what we did. We did an in silico drug screening with a company from Barcelona. And most of these molecules were like appointed to have potential for cancer, but also for other diseases. I focused on cancer due to the obvious reasons, because the unmet need is there, but also for personal reasons. And yeah, that was it. So that's how we are choosing. And now we are also working with Andreas Bender, who is an expert in the in silico studies and docking from Cambridge University, who has also been a great help. Thanks.
Next on stage is Claire from the startup Untap, and they have found a solution for virus detection in wastewater. So please listen to Claire. Welcome.
Good afternoon, stage 2. So it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Dr. Claire Tran, CEO and co-founder of Untap. We're a revolutionary new approach to improving community health using sewage. I'll let you into a secret. During the pandemic, it wasn't lateral flow tests or PCRs that drove the lockdowns. It was sewage. And it's been used to monitor community health since the 50s, including for polio, SARS, MERS, and so much more. It's an incredible tool. You can measure thousands of people in one go, cost-effectively and non-invasively. But best of all, you can detect viruses before symptoms, from day 0 of infection. But at the moment, it's really manual. A person has to go to the site, take a sample, drive it to the lab and analyze it, costing thousands and taking a week, preventing widespread deployment. Untap has patent-pending technology, automated on-site sewage surveillance. A single device is installed into the building's wastewater, detecting up to 12 pathogens. When the viral risk is low, ventilation can be reduced, reducing energy costs. And when the viral risk increases, measures can be implemented to reduce viral transmission, increase productivity, and improve lives. Starting with the care homes and with the factories as our first go-to-market sector, we're selling directly to them. We're also getting market pull already from offices across the US. And there are plenty of other markets to untap, including hospitals and cruise ships. But the really massive opportunity here is in the data, selling to public health authorities and for insurance policy. We've already carried out 4 pilots and secured customers. We are at the inflection point of deploying commercially. Our team includes my CTO and co-founder, Dr. Jay Bullen. He has a PhD from Imperial College London in water tech, and I've worked in sewage innovation for over 7 years. And our advisors include engineering companies that have multi-million-pound turnover. So Untap is a revolutionary new approach to improving community health using sewage. Together we're safer with crap data.
Happy to kick it off. How do you address privacy concerns, and how do you identify who pays within the value chain?
Yeah, great. Privacy concerns is something that actually there's no regulation for internationally at all at the moment. It's only been governments that have really done this in a big way until recently. However, the UK government has already told us what the regulations they're going to bring in next year are, because we're in close coordination with them. But to address them proactively, what we're doing is we're not measuring any community under 20 people. We don't want to know who is sick. We do not want to be a diagnostic tool. We're not going down that avenue of regulation. That's just a pain. We're detecting viral risk of a whole community to tell you that there is a risk there and do NPIs, non-pharmaceutical interventions for the whole community. So it's been shown that increasing ventilation reduces your risk of COVID. That's one of them. But for norovirus, cleaning, 1 teaspoon of norovirus can infect the entire planet. So cleaning is the most important thing with norovirus. So these NPIs are what you do for the whole community to prevent transmission. And the value chain, who's paying. So this has been something that we have been figuring out over time and understanding. And actually our first customers are care homes, because the work from work economy, they have to go to work. And we found that the business owner, so the care group owner, is the person that really gets involved on this. And that's fantastic for us, because a care group, you can do multiple sites and scale very quickly.
If a care home decides to, I don't know, reduce airflow and other things based on your data, does that mean that you become, in some respect, liable for damages as a consequence?
That's something we're exploring, yes. We haven't come across that problem yet. People are just so thrilled to reduce their heating bills. At the moment, it's £500 per person, per resident, per month for heating in the UK. Just take, like, that's tens of thousands of pounds. It's just so expensive, so they're prepared to do almost anything. But that's something that we will be discussing with them as we sign contracts, and there will be a clause that removes that risk.
So I like your byline. It's very funny. What you mentioned already, but it was very briefly, and maybe you could tell it again. What kind of diseases are most interesting for you, in a sense, economically interesting for you?
Absolutely. So COVID-19 was our launch pad, but we are not a pandemic company. So COVID-19 has been fascinating. We actually detected at Somerset House, they've got a staff area, it's not just a museum. We detected the BA4, BA5 wave before the UK government published results. So we were able to put mask mandates in for them. It was huge. We thought our data was wrong. So so that was a really great example of how we use the data. Sorry, what was the question? I got completely distracted.
This and which other diseases might be?
Other diseases, that was it. So actually, we've been speaking to hospitals across the UK and care homes, norovirus. Norovirus is the #1 concern, and so it's COVID and norovirus. When we started doing flu, and then people were like, we don't really care about flu that much. And then also there's polio. The government has asked us now to, in the future, put devices across boroughs in London to detect polio and then other outbreaks. We've made our device completely virus agnostic. So we can say, if you can PCR test for it in the lab, we can put it in our device. But then we're also looking at doing bacteria and hormones. So we're looking at doing stress as a biomarker.
What's going to be the price for your product? The background of my question is whether you're going to target the developed world only, or is it something that you're going to sell globally, also in the developing countries?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a chat with the Bio Foundation about deploying this in developing countries already. That's something that we will be doing in the future. We need to make a bit of money first. But we can make a unit for under £3,000. That's how cheap we've made. Both of us have water tech backgrounds. We've made this for sewage. It's not a medical device we've retrofitted, so it's cheap. So it will be affordable in the future for developing countries, yes.
But is it going to be a SaaS solution, or is it just one-time payment?
So what we're doing with current organizations is a monthly fee. And the reason that we're doing it this way is because we get the cost of the unit back. It ensures the relationship is ongoing, because we want them to interact with the data. We want them to really interact with that data. As a monthly payment, it causes them to really keep going with it. And the fee that we've actually come across, we've had loads of chats with customers, it's £500 a month is the minimum they're willing to pay, because it's not seen as scientific if it's cheaper than that, which is great, absolutely phenomenal. And then there's 3 things that scale our pricing. 1 is the number of biomarkers, more. 2 is the number of data points. So if the care homes want 1 data point per day, factories want 1 per shift, offices want 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, so they can vary their actions on the number of data points. That's another scaling point. And 3, the third scaling point is the number of people we're testing. Has no cost to us, but it's perceived customer cost.
We're out of time, but are you raising?
Sorry. We are raising, yes.
How much?
1.5 million pounds. Thank you.
The next startup pitching is called FastCast, and they're extremely simplifying the production of complex metal parts. For instance, airfoils for airplanes. And Wolf from the KIT will tell us more about it. Welcome.
We are FastCast Ceramics. I'm Wolf. Welcome. Many of the products necessary for our lifestyle today are produced via investment casting. This includes food production and energy conversion, among many others. The investment casting process works as follows. Wax models of the future parts are produced and assembled to the so-called wax tree. This tree is dipped into ceramic slurry and covered with ceramic particles. To generate a shell, this process is repeated 8 to 11 times with different materials for the different layers. The wax is melted out and the shell is burned. Then liquid metal is poured in. After cooling down, the shell is knocked off and the finished parts can be cut off. In total, this process takes about 13 days, with shell building taking about 10 days. As a solution provider, we produce and supply a novel, ready-to-use ceramic slurry, bringing down shell building from 9 dipping, sanding, drying iterations to just 3 dipping and drying cycles. This brings various benefits. We reduce production time by 80%. For the first time, a real recyclability becomes possible. Also, we expect to grow our customers' EBIT by 100%. The FastCast slurry is made possible by our underlying IP. It reduces crack formation and allows a thicker buildup of layers. The patent is pending. We enter into a market which is expected to grow to 1 billion euros in 2027. To ensure relevance, we are constantly talking to our future customers. The market entry will be realized via the prototyping companies. These have higher costs, thus we generate a higher added value. The team consists of David in product development, Moritz as the CEO who has been developing the technology from the beginning, Johannes as a professional in sales and marketing, and myself responsible for strategy and finance, and a lot of students that help us. Invest in us and help us shape a new beyond.
Maybe just a question for explaining it to me a little bit more. What if I'm a company who would use this technology? What would I have to change in order to use your technology? How much of my current process?
Yeah, the current process gets simplified, so you don't need new machines. You just throw out a couple of old ones, and then this solution is just dropped in. You just exchange your current system with our new system.
Will there be any change of the quality of the final product when using your processes?
Well, this is of course what we're working on to make the formulation. That's what my colleagues are doing, to make the formulation that there's obviously no compromise in quality, and we think we can even get a better quality than right now.
Maybe adding on to the competition, can you give us some insights who is also in that same playing field?
Yeah, this product currently does not exist in this form. Our customers are buying the raw materials and mixing themselves. So we enable them to focus on their core qualities and just making the metal parts while we supply the ceramics. There are actually maybe 3 real big players who sell the raw materials to the investment casting companies.
Why do you want to sell the raw material instead of creating a verticalized investment casting business?
We think it's faster to scale because we can, just the existing companies, they have all the know-how regarding the casting process. So we just produce the slurry pre-mixed, deliver it to them, and we can just actually deliver it really fast and roll it out all around the world whenever our formulation is ready.
Any positive impact on the environment?
Oh yeah, thanks for that question, because I actually forgot, I had it in the presentation. So recyclability is possible with our solution. Right now there's different types of materials used, for example zirconia for the first coat. We won't need that because we have a higher purity in our material, and we can actually take back the used shells and recycle those.
And another question, how well can you protect your technology and your idea, your IP?
Yeah, we have a patent which is pending, the PCA process going on, and constantly, and the secret recipe which nobody knows. So.
Producing materials in bulk is not an easy feast, and right now it seems like you've predominantly worked on the design, idea, prototype level. What steps are you taking to get yourself to sort of ship this product at scale?
Yeah, we are right now, we currently can produce about 10 liters of our product. So obviously scaling up is one of the big new challenges. Yeah. So the next size will be 100 to 300 liters. And then we want to do batch in 1 cubic meter. And then we want to go to the flow presses. Continuous production.
And who are your customers and how big is the market?
Yeah, our customers are the investment casting companies, so the companies that produce metal parts and actually currently buy the ceramics. The market, well, the customers' market is about 25 billion euros in 2027, and our market for the shell material is about 1 billion at that point. Will be about 1 billion. We estimate, obviously, we try to calculate that as good as possible.
And who could potentially buy your company?
The big players from the chemical industries, so the three big in Germany, I don't think I have to mention them, and obviously some international players in that field too, because they used to have some of the products in their portfolios and not selling them anymore, and we think we can actually create a high revenue product because of the recycling, which has a really, really big impact on the revenue, on the margin we can achieve. So that would be really interesting for them.
Why do you want to raise venture capital and not debt?
Yeah, we're not there yet. So there's the risk, too much risk for debt. Product development risk still.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Thanks everyone. Thanks for the questions.
Our next founder is from Oxford. The startup is called Cequestre, and they found a carbon texture technology. And their motto is to harness the potential of carbon dioxide. So welcome on stage, Scott.
In just the time it takes me to give this pitch, enough carbon dioxide is going to be emitted to cover the Berlin Tiergarten to a height of 12 meters. The climate is changing, and at a frightening pace. But not only is the planet suffering, industries are too. The environmental, economic, and legislative pressure to capture emissions is mounting. Companies are bleeding cash with all these carbon trading schemes, and yet only the smallest fraction of emissions are captured. Why? Well, CO2 is unreactive, it's difficult to transport, and mostly an undesirable product. In fact, the majority that is captured is simply pumped underground. But we are Cequestre, and we harness the potential of carbon dioxide. Unlike other methods, we efficiently convert our captured CO2 directly into a valuable commodity, syngas, a key precursor for high-value, transportable products, thereby turning this whole process into a profit center. And the market opportunity is huge. If we were to capture just 0.5% of that accessible market, that would represent 3.6 billion euros. Cequestre's IP builds upon proven existing technology of calcium looping, but with this innovative microwave catalysis step, so that overall, it really is win-win-win. We already have proof of concept, pending patents, and 30k of innovation prize money to field test. Now we need around €500,000 for industrial scaling up. We therefore invite you to join our cross-functional team and the University of Oxford ecosystem. But we're not just asking you to invest in us, we're asking you to invest in our planet. The choice is yours. Let's narrow it down. We are Cequestre, and we harness the potential of carbon dioxide. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really powerful pitch. Thank you for being here. And some research shows that there's also a lot of energy required, of course, for carbon capture. How is your ratio between the carbon you're reducing and the energy you need to run your system?
Okay, so it's actually more efficient than it would be to capture the CO2 and then transport it somewhere else and in a completely separate process turn it into something. And that's because it all happens in one step, and it also happens at a lower temperature, and it uses microwaves as the heating source. So that makes it more efficient than it otherwise would be.
Can you give us some numbers on this? Just if you have some spontaneous, otherwise we can also talk later.
Yeah, I can't give you the numbers right now, but yeah, I'd love to talk later. Yeah.
Who's your initial customer, and exactly what does the relationship look like transactionally?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So our beachhead market is going to be those industries that produce a lot of carbon dioxide, and they can also use that product that we make, syngas. So a good example of this is a methanol factory. So you can make methanol out of that syngas. So what we would do is we'd capture their carbon, reduce their emissions, and at the same time give them syngas so that they can make more methanol, and that makes their resources go further, reduce their operational cost. So that's the benefit to them.
Can you describe that transaction a little bit more detailed? So how are you capturing it? How are you creating syngas? How are you producing additional product of the type that originally created the CO2 to begin with?
Yes, so these companies will produce their own syngas in-house, and through that they will produce a lot of carbon dioxide as emissions. We divert their emissions into our area of the plant, and then through our process that comes out the other side as syngas, and then that can go into their process where they turn the syngas into methanol. And transactionally that could be either through we just sell them the technology for a one-off cost and potentially maintenance cost, replacement of the catalyst, or they could lease it over time.
Regarding the sort of stuff you need, essentially, you just mentioned catalyst. I imagine electricity is one ingredient, so is there anything else?
Yes, natural gas is required for the reaction. Yeah, but they'll already have a good supply of that.
And do you have any purity issues at this stage of time, like CO2 purity is not high enough, or the syngas quality varies a lot depending on the feedstock?
No, it can actually run at quite low concentrations of CO2. So this example is for industry, but it can also be used for direct air capture. And in the lab, the syngas that's produced is pure, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. We are invested in Carbon Future, a marketplace which basically also relies on biochar, so taking CO2 out of the air. So I like your approach. The Carbon Future market is basically a voluntary carbon reducing market. How does it work with you? Is this we all want this? Of course, we all want this here. I think you get a lot of applause for this. It's awesome. But does it rely on the goodwill? Is it voluntary? Is it regulated? Does it make economic sense?
So for R1, we are relying more on an economic sense. So in previous cases of carbon capture, like you say, it's voluntary. The financial cost is much higher, often much higher than it would be just to emit the carbon and pay the fine. At the same time, carbon fines are increasing, but with R1, we're not just allowing them to skip paying the fine, we're also giving them a valuable product. Syngas can be converted into things like fuels for cars, for aeroplanes, fertilizer, solvents. These are valuable things, and to different industries, they'll be very valuable as well.
What are the emissions of your process?
The emissions from
your process?
just syngas,
Okay, so only one thing comes out the back end.
only syngas, yeah.
If you use only renewable energy, right? I mean, you said you need a lot of electricity, so that needs to come from renewable sources.
Yes,
correct?
so our original plan for the microwaves is to generate those from renewable sources, yes.
Our next founder on stage founded the company Genogra, and they've built a software platform for genome analysis. So please welcome Guido Walter from Milan.
All right, so thank you for the introduction. It is a pleasure to be here and introduce you to Genogra, the startup that is building the definitive solution for genome analysis. And the reason why we are doing this is that everybody knows the promises of genomics, like, for example, understanding how a virus will mutate in different regions of the globe. The problem is that current solutions for genome analysis have many limitations that do not allow us to answer this question efficiently. Thus, we are not fully leveraging the potential of genomics yet. And if we look at the workflow of genome analysis today, we can easily understand why. We can see that the workflow is made of many different steps, and that available solution just covers some of the steps. So the overall flow is still too long, error-prone, and produces suboptimal results. Instead, we see a future for genome analysis that is more similar to this, with just one platform, our software platform, that provides the same functionalities with much less tools, so offering a workflow that is much easier and faster. And we have already validated this idea with many bioinformaticians from the most important institutions in Italy working on genome analysis. So our target market, of course, is genome analysis that is rapidly growing, and this will be with a size of 3 billion in just Europe in 6 years. And the cool part of our technology is that it is so flexible that it can actually target all the 3 main segments of genome analysis market. So right now we are at TRL 4, and we have developed a prototype of our platform that we have validated in our lab. But right now we are looking for funds in order to do some other validation, some POC studies, and validate the technology also in real application scenarios. Let me conclude with a brief introduction of our team. We are a multidisciplinary team spanning bioinformatics, biomedical engineering, and computer science, and we are working really hard to realize our vision and finally unleash the full potential of genome analysis. Thank you.
Are you doing sequencing or only the analysis part after the sequencing is complete?
The analysis part after sequencing.
Are you at all dependent on any particular sequencing technology or agnostic?
No, we are agnostic. We can handle both long, short, ultra-long reads, everything.
And how do you integrate, for example, with an Illumina sequencer? How does that workflow look?
Well, actually, the Illumina sequencer produces the data that we then analyze. So basically, it's just we can do analysis like all the other platforms that already exist, but we basically are changing radically the way genome data are handled and processed. So we use this innovative representation that is based on genome graphs. These are networks of information that are correlated among each other. And we developed, let's say, search engine to rapidly look for sequence of interest in this data. And basically our approach is a vertical approach spanning both software and hardware. So we are accelerating our processing through, for example, graphic processing units, GPUs.
As far as I understand it, you need a lot of data to make your platform powerful, right?
Well,
and if so, how do you get the data?
Okay. Yeah, we want to provide also data from, to our customers. And basically, we want to collaborate with data providers, so biobanks and other institutions. But basically, we also provide the tools to build their own graphs. So if they are sequencing a lot of data, they can build this network information just with in-house data. So it is not a need, it is something more. It is a feature that we hope we can provide in the future.
Can you help me understand a little better, kind of who's the center of the bullseye target customer for your product versus any of your competitors? What is the primary pain point that you're solving for them? And what allows you to be 10x better than whatever it is your competition is doing?
All right, so we are targeting both base and applied research and diagnostics. So in particular, we are focusing initially on research that does not involve human data because we do not need regulations for that. So this will validate our technology. Basically, the main pain point of bioinformaticians right now and companies or institutions that want to do genome analysis is that to do a complete end-to-end workflow based on sequences, they need many different tools, and they need many people. I mean, the least amount of people of bioinformatic groups to do all the analysis is at least like 6, 7, 8 people. Based on our customer interviews. And not everyone can afford that. So some institutions also have the sequencer in-house, but they are not using that because they cannot afford groups of bioinformaticians. So our main target is to make the analysis much easier, because using the graphs, we can standardize the analysis and do a lot of different applications in the same way. Let's say. This is the most important advantage of our technology.
And where you're standing at the moment, are you looking for funding, for research partners? What would be your next steps?
Okay, yeah. Right now we are looking for pre-seed fundings to realize some POC studies, so to also pay for some studies. And so we also look for collaborators, of course. But yeah, our main goal right now is to validate the technology also in real application scenarios, because that would be very important for us. Right now we are validated in our lab. It is not sufficient yet.
We have one final startup that will be pitching on stage, and they won a wildcard to be here yesterday by the SIEMENS AI competition. So the startup is called Anticipate, and they've created an AI system for manufacturing, and Kevin will tell us more about their solution. Welcome.
Hello everyone, we are Anticipate, and we believe that a large amount of manual work in industry cannot be automated. So looking at the figures today, in industry we have 72% of all tasks in the factory still manual. They are very error prone, as you can think of, and of course those errors pops up generally at the end of the line, in the end of line quality inspection, and causes there a lot of costs. This is why we built a solution which can automatically detect hand movements in the assembly process. As you can see, we detect really the different hand coordinates and can by this in real time give feedback to the assembly operator if an error occurs, so that he has the chance to directly correct it in the process so that it not pops up in the end of line quality control. The product consists of two different components. What you just saw is what we call operating software, and which is running completely locally at the assembly station, and is basically getting the images from the camera, is analyzing it and giving then feedback to the operator. Next to this, we are also offering a training tool for the process engineer to teach the system and manage the different trained models for the different assembly stations. We are currently have 5 LOIs signed for pilot projects in the industry, We have 2 running pilots and starting the next pilots in automotive from November together with Mercedes-Benz. We are also in touch with Miele, for example, so white goods industry is also one of our target industries, starting the next pilot beginning of next year. And we have currently 300,000 euros in revenue this year on a project-based business model. So currently we are raising the pre-seed, so very happy to talk to you later, and thank you very much for your attention.
So I like that you have 300 trillion in revenue. That's great. Yeah, never mind. My question is, why track hand movements? Why not use your software to actually look for defects in parts, or kind of anything else you could apply the same technology to?
Very good point. So this is basically our main USP. So thanks for the question. From a very practical perspective in the operational assembly process, for tracking the assembly group, and if there is the screw at the wrong position, let's say, you need to remove the hands from the assembly group to give the camera the chance to see really the assembly group. So having, for example, cycle times of 7 seconds with 4 process steps in it, this would mean removing it half a second, bring it back and waiting for the analysis of the camera, which is also maybe half a second. So you would add 1 second per step, so 4 seconds to the 7-second cycle time, which would double the time or increase the time of 50 to 60% in this case. So it's not really usable then for the operational process, only maybe for training operators and so on.
And maybe to add to one point, hands looks always similar. You can easily transfer to a new process. So you don't need to train the model on the specific product anymore, because the hands always looks similar. It doesn't matter if you wear gloves or have, for example, black or white hands.
Do you have to provide dedicated training data sets in order to tell the algorithm what to look for and what movements of the fingers are correct versus not correct? Or does it automatically learn just by watching throughput?
The solution consists of 2 different models. The first one is just tracking the hands and giving out the coordinates. This one does not need to be retrained for different hands, different gloves or whatever. This is completely pre-trained, ready to use. The second one, which is detecting the different hand movements, need to be trained for the specific process, as you say. And here, the data for it is just collected in the running assembly process. And can be used, but we are also using pre-trained models for standard hand movements, like a grabbing movement, like a screwing movement, always look nearly the same, but then needs to be specified. So we need not very much data for retraining the model for the specific grabbing movement then.
And what's the value here? Do companies want to know where their employees' hands are, or do they want to know if the screw was fully tightened?
They want to detect the error early in the process, because when you're detecting it at the end of the process, you have the problem, first of all, you would need to do a root cause analysis to really you just find there's a problem with the pressure, for example, and then you need to find the leakage in the assembly group. So this takes time and money, and afterwards they have a separate assembly line, for example, for repairing it. This also creates scrap, because you cannot always, without destroying some glued parts and so on, reassemble it. And there are also currently manual process quality inspectors, which also takes cost. So this is basically the cost-saving potential we have here.
And what is the accuracy rate that you currently can offer? In the sense also the false positives kind of view, where it's actually done correctly, but the machine is saying, no, you have done a mistake.
Not sure if I got this completely. So the false positive rate of our solution, or?
Exactly, where basically your machine is saying you did an error, but actually there wasn't an error.
Yeah, this is of course very important for us, because if the solution is giving feedback, so the operator get visual feedback, or maybe could be also use audio visual, and this would be very annoying if the false positive rate would be too high, of course. So this is something we really take care of, and it works that currently we have per frame a validation accuracy of 80%, which means over 120 frames we are inspecting for one single movement. This makes the summed up accuracy quite high, and we land up, or we got to over 99.x% for every hand process or process step that we're detecting.
Maybe one last question. How much time do you need to set up your solution at your customers, and do you need to supervise that long term, or is it running when it's already set up?
It's so if we are doing it, we could do it in 1 to 2 days. The customer generally with complete setup, like setting up the camera, setting up, collecting the data, training the model, and then testing the system is like up to 3 days. Thank you.
So we heard a lot of great pitches, and I guess it will be really difficult for the jury to decide for 2 teams to win. And you also have a little break. We all have a little break now, and at 3:30 there will be the finale. You can all join and watch. But for you to know, at 2:30 the winners will be announced of the semifinals. So who will get to the finale? You'll hear a gong, and then you'll get to know who will be pitching on a stage at 3:30 again. And also you can grab some lunch outside and check out the expo. And the winners, they should be here at 3 again for all of the preparations we need for the finale at 3:30. And then we'll see you at 3:30 here again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Put your hands together one time.